Hey everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome to my art stream. Tonight we're going to be doing a watercolor. I'm so excited, we haven't done one in such a long time. So just a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, you'll notice that I have two lovely people up here. That is myself and Queen Bee, Molly, who has joined me on the Discord server where you can actually join with voice. Molly, say hi. Oh, well.
Hi.
Okay. The sound's a little bit off. Hey, Andrew. Welcome. Thank you for joining. All right. To get to my Discord server, if you want to join and you want to talk and you want to ask questions live, in person, sort of, then this is the URL you need to use. Another way to get to it is you can put ! Discord in my stream and my lovely bot will give you the link, or you can click on my name and go to the About tab and there is a Discord button there. So those are the ways to get to Discord. Now let me show you what else Discord is good for. So we do a lot of chatting on there about artwork. We post our artwork, we critique each other's artwork, and have nice fun chats about art. Let me just show you. We also put the reference photo, like the day of the event, whatever I'm going to be teaching, drawing, painting, whatever. I put up a reference photo, so let me show you that. Okay, so you'll notice here on the left-hand side that there's all the channels. ArtCrit is where you post your artwork. Reference photo is where you would come if you want to get the day's reference photos so that you can look at it while we're going. So you can click on it here and make it big. If you click on Open Original, that will take you to an even bigger file. It will open in your browser and take you to an even larger file that you can look at. So I highly recommend doing the reference photo because just following me isn't always, it doesn't show you where you're going. Now, if you see Stream Chat here, click that and you will instantly be live through voice. If you do decide to do that, I recommend muting your Twitch because you'll be able to hear me in Discord. Okay, so that is that. So we got that little bit out of the way. All right, so here is the next thing that I want to go over before we get started. Supplies. Okay. Excuse me. A little water. That's stuck in my throat the wrong way. Never a good thing. Okay. Speaking of water, this is watercolor, so you're going to need some water. I happen to have, you want some kind of palette, and I've got my paints. However, I had some paints that had dried in here from previously, and you can see the yellow has started chipping. That's okay, because watercolor can be reconstituted, meaning that if you just add a little bit of water, it will be just as good as if you put it straight from the tube. So I'm going to be reusing these because I have a couple palettes of these now from previous watercolor classes, and I need to go ahead and start using them. So there we go with that. All right. I've got watercolor paper, and it's heavier than like your drawing paper. So this is 140 pounds. But watercolor paper also has like a little tooth on it. So I'm going to take one of these out that we're going to be using today. All right, I've got a couple of brushes. I've got a large flat brush for doing washes. Now I prefer filbert, which is rounded like this, but regular flat brush would do. A round brush, all round means is that it's pointy. And this is a size 6. This is like a size 10 or 12 filbert. This particular company goes by inches, so it's a 3/4 inch wash brush, but 10 or 12 would be about the same. Okay. I've got my actual colors here, and what I've got is a red. This is Phthalo Crimson. A blue. Now I've got two different blues. I've got a cool blue and a warm blue, ultramarine and phthalo blue. So I like to have both of those so that way we can get a good mix of colors. And then I've got burnt umber and cadmium yellow pale. So those are the colors. If, however, what you have is something like this, you know, this is like a Crayola set. As long as you have the brown, so I've got brown, blue, red, and yellow. All right, so those are the colors. The way to make your blue warm and cool, so usually the blues that come in these are warm. As you can see here, see how that matches that one a little bit? All I did was bring some of that over here and I mixed a little bit of the purple with it, and that's how I got my ultramarine blue. So that's all you have to do to get your two different blues. And if you are using one of these, it's not a problem, but I will just make sure that you know which blue we're using. All right. So that's that. I'm going to put that away because I'm not going to be using that particular set, but you are welcome to. Okay, so I've got a pencil. Why do we need a pencil if we're painting? Good question. Well, so with watercolor, you have to plan. With acrylic, you know, when we do, you know, this painting, the heavy body acrylic painting, you can cover. You can actually cover, like, you know, if you make a little mistake and you go outside the line or whatever, or, you know, say you do an all blue background and then you do something on top of it, you can cover it with acrylic. You cannot do that with watercolor because it's so transparent, or translucent rather. So we have to do a little bit of planning first and decide where we want things to go. That way it's a happier ending, I assure you. All right, so I'm going to push those to the side. One more thing is you will want paper towels. I'm going to go ahead and tear one off. But paper towels are very handy when you're dealing with watercolor. And if you happen to be messy, I would recommend putting some kind of paper down on the table, and I didn't do that, so I need to do something here. Let's see. I've got some paper from a previous class. I'm just going to use that. All right. And we're going to start out with our pencil. So welcome any new viewers. If you want to join me in voice, you are absolutely welcome to by going to Discord. All right. Discord is right here in case you need it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sketch. We are doing popsicles today, so we're going to go ahead and sketch our popsicles. First, we're going to do kind of large rectangle. Now, I'm doing this very light because we want to be able to erase. So I will show you. So I'm doing it very light, and I'm just using a number 2 pencil. Let's see, we've got a popsicle going this way. That might actually be a little bit too long. See, this is why we plan. All right, I do have a chunky eraser somewhere. I like big erasers. I find that the erasers that are on the back of the pencils just usually aren't very good. All right, and then I'm going to do another one, kind of catty corner. And you can draw right through it because we'll be erasing some of these lines. So I drew right through that, and I'm going to erase that line. Now, something to keep in mind is that notice that I didn't do, you know, our popsicles have, like, you know, they're double pops, so they have like this little, you know, dip in the middle where it's 2. I haven't put that in yet, so we're not worried about that just yet. But I do, however, want to go ahead and get our sticks in there. So our sticks are just kind of round. I'll hold that up so you guys can see that better. Just kind of rounded. I'm going to make this a little bit narrow at the top. This is why we plan. So we can do things like that. And since this is on top, I'm going to just erase inside this one stick. So that's pretty much all we're going to draw for right now. Let's go ahead. I'm going to gently just erase the lines so they're very, very light so I can still see them. So I'm just hardly running my eraser over them, but just enough. So that I can still see my lines, but that they're not pencil marks. Because once you do the watercolor, you can technically still erase your pencil lines, but sometimes it pulls the paint with it. And you don't necessarily want to lose your paint. Okay. I'm just gonna, there's a lot on there. So see how I can still faintly see my lines. This right here is a little bit of a mess. All right. Now we're ready. So I actually think I'm probably not going to use this brush for right now. So I'm going to just put that to the side. The first color I'm going to do is we're going to make the red for this popsicle. Now, when you're getting your brush wet, see those bubbles coming in? I just push it down on the bottom on both sides and get all those bubbles out. And just kind of push it back and forth on the bottom of whatever cup I'm using. Now, let's see. I want to make all right, so I'm going to use a little bit of red. So I need to get my red wet. Now, if you're using it straight from the tube, what you do is you drip the water in. You just drip the water in and then agitate it from the side. But since I'm getting mine wet, I can agitate the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to bring some into the middle because we're going to be making a nice color. All right. So now I'm going to get my yellow nice and mixed. I'm just dripping water in there and getting it wet first. Okay, now I don't want to put it directly in the red because, well, normally if I was mixing an even color, I'm only going to put a little bit of yellow in this, so we can mix it directly. But what I would do is I would just nudge it on the side there and let it drip down into it, because if I was going to get more, you don't want to have to wash off your brush every single time. But in this case, I'm just putting a little bit of yellow. All right, so first we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint our red. So just go ahead and follow your lines. And what I do is I try to outline mine first. Now remember how it's two pops? So what I'm doing is I'm outlining it. But at the very top, I'm just going to bubble it just a little bit on both sides, like that. Just a little bubble. Now, the blue one that it was next, instead of me doing the blue bubble, because I already have the red, I'm just going to dip down just in the middle there. I'm just going to dip down a little bit. And that will create the twin pop for the blue. All right, so we've got our red filled in. Now we're going to do something fun. All right, we need to get our highlights in there. Well, here's the thing. So first of all, so you get a wet brush, or a clean brush rather, and we're going to paint a line right down the middle. And I'm going to paint that line several times. Now, you can go ahead and dry it off and paint that line again. You can let it spread a little bit at the top because it's two different popsicles. So you're picking up, so you painted the water down the middle, and now we're picking up that water with a dry brush and just wiping it on our all the way to the bottom. You can leave a little spot at the bottom where it doesn't, doesn't quite connect. All right, now we're going to do the same thing, but not going all the way to the top. I'm going to come down and do like a little triangle at the bottom. And this is sometimes hard to see, so you may have to like see where you put your line. So you might have to do it in chunks, in sections. And every once in a while, I just clean off my brush. And sometimes you got to put a little bit more water on it. But this is making it look like our popsicle is rounded. And what I'm doing is on the left side of this, I'm just coming in with my brush and just kind of squiggling it around. And what that does is it creates one side lighter than the other. All right. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of my red, and on the right side, come in with a little bit of the pure red. And what that does is it adds to the red that we had there before and makes it a little darker. And I just kind of round it at the bottom. See how I just kind of went under? I scooped under the bottom. Like that. All right, now we have to do this other side, but we've got this blue one in the way, so just get it wet right to the blue and then come down on the other side. And the triangle is going to go the other way. It's almost like a little foot more than it is a triangle. Let me get a little water on my brush. I'm going to make this side the lighter side. Sticking with the same one, and the reason why is because we're going to assume that our lighting is on the left side. So that's what's causing. All right, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this red. I don't have a whole lot left, so I need to make some more. Pick up a little yellow, mix it. And then the inside here. Wow, that is considerably darker. So I'm going to pick up a little, that's considerably darker than this side. So I'm going to just pick up some of that color. It's a little too much red. It probably just didn't have enough water in it. All right. There's our first popsicle. Are you caught up, Molly, or you need me to give you a little bit of time?
Actually, I'm exactly where you are.
Excellent. All right. So now let's do our orange. I'm making sure my eraser marks are, my erasers are all off. Okay. So we'll take that same red, and now we're going to add quite a bit of yellow to it. And I didn't drip it in like I said I would. Well, that's probably good enough. All right. Now I'm going to turn mine a little bit, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to outline. Oops. This one's a little bit tricky. I think it only barely comes on the other side of this. Now, this is mine. Yours could be different. All right. All right, so we've got to do the same thing that we did to the red one. So we're going to do our stripe down the middle. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Forgot to do the little humps at the top. So we're going to do one on this side and one on that side. Can't forget my twin pop. That's how you share. All right, now let's get a clean brush. I'm going to drip the water right down the center. Clean it, dry it, and then we're going to pick up the paint from that. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Okay, now let's see. All right. Now let's do our two lines on the, either side. It's going to be our highlight lines. The great thing about watercolor is that it doesn't have to be exact. This is absolutely my favorite thing. I think that watercolor is pretty fun because of the fact that it doesn't, there's a precision that other paintings, acrylic painting or oil painting, especially oil painting, there's a precision that it has. And I feel like watercolor is really not even supposed to have that, So if you think that it's not light enough, then you just add a little bit more water. Now this side, it looks like the left side is going to be our lighter side. So all I'm doing is just kind of taking my semi-wet brush. It's not really super wet. And just kind of making it so that there's like little light marks on there. All right, now I'm going to do and again, we'll do like some lighter. All right, now we need to get some of that darker orange. So I'm going to pick up some red like we did before. And I'm going to do some yellow. Now I remember I didn't drop it in last time, but we're going to drop it in. See, that's still pretty red. So I'm going to grab some more yellow and drop it in. All right. So now I've got some orange. I'm going to do my darker bits. I'm going to put dark on the the right side. I'm going to water this down just a little bit in parts, and I'm going to come in and make that middle line just a little thinner. So how I did that is I took just a little bit of this orange, pulled it over to the side, and added some water to it. And then that way I can get a very light orange. Because that's what's cool about watercolor, is you can make it lighter just by adding water. Okay. Now something additional we're going to do with this, with the orange one, is we're going to add a little bit of yellow directly to that middle line and the highlight lines. So just straight yellow. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I'm going to do a bit of dark orange right here, but I want to let it dry first since I just put yellow on it. Okay. You caught up? So what we're going to do, we're going to mix our blue. Now, we're going to use our phthalo blue, which is if you're using like this kind of set, it's the regular blue that comes in there. Gotta get some water in there. You're pretty quiet, Molly. Just focusing?
That and I'm eating.
Oh, okay. Man, you're painting and eating.
Yep.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually mix. We're going to take the blue, take some of that. I'm going to add just a little bit of my orange. Not much, but just a little bit. And that just tones it down just a little bit. Oh, and I need more water to that because that is way too dark. You know what? I think I want to add a little bit of red to this too. All right. So I'm going to take a little tiny bit of my red and add it. And that it is going to purple it up a little bit. But that is okay. Yep, that's a different blue. I like it. Now I'm adding water directly to this because I put it on too dark to begin with. So I'm picking up some of that. Remember how we were doing that with the lines? Well, you can do that with a whole section of paint if you want. All right. And actually turn this upside down. There we go. All right. Now this one, if you'll notice, looks a little bit different. This one, it's got the stripes. It doesn't have the middle stripe. It's got the stripes on either side, but like they're fat. I'm not sure why that is, but it looks good in the picture, so I'm going to follow it. Probably because the light is coming from this side and it's the one on top. In the picture, they have the bottoms of the pops looking like it's got a little hump there. So that's why I did that. think because I changed my color a little bit, what it did is it caught on the paper, and this happens, and it's basically just a little too overworked. There's not really a whole lot you can do about it when that happens. You just got to kind of roll with it. It's one of those happy accidents that Bob Ross talks about. All right. Now I am going to add a little bit of blue right to the inside here. I mix a little red. Give me a more purplish color. I'm just going to layer that there. I think the issue with my blue is that it's still just a little too dark. That's okay. We just have this is a dark blue blueberry pop.
Mine is even darker than yours.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
We'll just have, this will be like, you know.
Mine's like an indigo.
Wow. Well, this will just be one of those specialty pops.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Specialty.
Yes, good point. Excellent point, darling. Excellent point.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Well, it stinks that it's the one right on top, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, now what we got to do is we've got to make our shadows. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of our blue and we're going to paint right around the edge on the red. And what it's going to do is it's going to mix and make kind of a purplish color, and just be very gentle with it. And on the bottom side, it's going to actually have two little dips. And that is because it's the popsicle is angled, you know, it has that kind of triangle bit. All right. I'm going to water it down a little bit, so I put some water. I just put some water over here, and I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of the blue and add it to the water. We're going to do the same thing on the orange. Oops. You can actually take, right where the popsicle is, we could take a little bit of darker blue. Well, okay. It's going to bleed a little bit. That's okay. All right, my orange is dry, so I'm going to actually take some of this Oops. I added a little bit of water to it. And I wanted to come in here and make this thinner there. I'm going to actually do it on the other side too. Okay. I don't know what we're going to do about the blue popsicle. We're just going to, yeah. We won't worry about that too much. Now, we need to let our stuff dry. But this is where we're going to start to have some fun. Now, I recommend that you get some clean water. You don't have to, though. You can use the muddy water. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and use the muddy water. Because personally, I think it'll look cooler. So we are going to start doing just kind of a, you know, wherever. We're just going to put the water wherever. Just like splotchy. And you can put it up against the popsicle.
I'll be back, but I'm gonna go make a smoothie.
Okay. Making a little bit of purple. And all I'm doing is touching it to the I'm just touching it to the areas that are wet and just letting it do its own thing. I'm going to add some water right up against this. This is going to be like my shadow. And then add a little bit of my purple that I just made. I'm going to just put it like a drop of purple right here. Let's see how that dries. All right, let's see. I'm going to do some splotchiness on the top part. And what this is supposed to be is where the popsicles have melted a little bit on the bottom. So I'm just that like kind of weird blue shade that I made earlier. I'm just kind of letting that mix in there. In fact, I might pick up a little bit of the blue and like let some come up here against in the shade. That might be a little too blue here. I'll pick some of that up. Put more purple. There might be a little bit more red. Oops. It's not watered down enough. There might be a little bit more red, kind of close to the red popsicle, because that's where it'd be mixing from. That's maybe a little too much red. And then just kind of let that dry like that. All right. Now, around the blue popsicle, let's go ahead and we'll just, and they can blend a little bit. That's okay. They mix. And we'll maybe take some of this blue here and mix a little orange with it. And what that's going to do is water that down, dilute that a little bit, and just touch it to there. Like I said, you can let your colors mix a little bit. Might even pick up a little bit of pure blue. Let that go in there and then spread it around with my water. Let's see. Well, now we got to get our orange going. So I'm going to turn mine upside down to do my orange. So I'm just getting my water on the canvas, on the board, on the watercolor paper. All right, now this, what I'm going to probably do is actually do a little bit of yellow. But I will mix a tiny bit of orange in there. And maybe even a little bit of purple. Right up next to, while this is still wet, right up next to the popsicle, we'll get some orange in there. Okay. Let's see. I've got to get shadow on this side. So our shadow for the popsicle sticks is going to be, we'll use this, but we'll use the yellow from before, but we're gonna add a little bit of blue to it. Gonna make it just a slight green, kind of a grayish green. This one's gonna be more blue because it was still wet there. I actually am going to take some orange and right here and put some pure orange. So that's like shadow. And add just a little bit of shadow on this side. Okay. Now we've got to let all this stuff dry. Let's see. I want to put a dot of like some red there. Maybe a little bit of blue. Let those mix. And if you think that's too dark, you just put your dry brush in there. And pick up some of it. Let's see. I'm just following like what they have in the picture, but not too closely. All right, now we need to do the popsicle stick color. But everything's still wet, so we need to wait a little bit before we start trying to attack popsicle stick color. So let's look and see if there's anywhere where we can make it a little bit darker. I think right up against the blue here, I think we should make that a little darker. Because to be fair, that is a shadow. We'll let that go around the side. And that should be dry enough to where like it let us do that. Let's see. Looking to see anywhere else. Maybe a little bit of orange. Right at the edge of that orange there. That's not dark enough. That's too dark. Well.
So what's happening?
A lot. All right, since that was a little bit too dark, I'll come back in here with the orange. There we go. That's better. Let's see. It might be a little bit for you to catch up because you might have to go back and watch it because I've done a lot.
I am.
All right, now to make our popsicle sticks, it's going to be yellow. Pretty light yellow. And my yellow got a little bit dulled. We're going to add, let's see. I'm going to add a little bit of my burnt umber. So I'm going to just get just a tiny bit of it and put it in this empty well over here. And I'm going to pick up the yellow and bring it in. All right, and then just add water. Okay, but we're not ready yet because the red ones might be okay. So I'm going to paint the red popsicle sticks. These ones are just not dry enough yet. And you don't want to dry, so when we dry acrylic with at like a hair dryer or something, that's fine. But you don't want to do the same thing with watercolor, because watercolor, you want it to dry in like its own natural way. Because what it does is, see how like this, the color is pooling down at the bottom? You want that. Now I'm going to come over with some of my lines, and I'm just going to paint water over some of my lines. And that's going to like loosen things up a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to do the same thing to the top here. And what I'm doing is just loosening up these lines so they're not so dark around the edges. And it just makes it look kind of splotchy in the back. All right, now I'm going to see, hopefully some of this is dry enough. If not, we'll find out really fast. Nope, that was not dry enough. So the orange leaked right into it. So you just have to pick it up with a dry brush and just wait. I'm going to say this is probably not my best watercolor, honestly, out of all the ones I've done. I'm a little distracted lately. I mean, that's not to blame, but sometimes when you're doing art, it's hard if you're distracted or you've got other things on your mind. It happens. Oops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid going right up to that edge. Here should be pretty dry. Well, I was wrong. That was not dry there. That's okay. Close enough. All right. I'm done. This is by far not my best watercolor for sure. Let's see. I'm gonna let there be a little orange over here. I don't know what happened, but there we go. That's a little better. I was liking how it was going at the beginning with the shapes, you know, with the, you know, where we could see the, you know, the raised edges. And actually the blue one's not looking so bad to me right now. But the background, I don't know. It needs some work, and I don't know what to do to it to make it better. I'm not sure. But I will tell you this. I'm going to go ahead and sign. Always sign watercolors in pencil. It's tradition.
Tradition.
Huh?
Nothing. I just think it looks good, but the background could use a little bit of touch up, like you said.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, we could inject a little more color here, like here. We could add a little bit of red, maybe a little bit of our blue, and like let those kind of blend and add some darkness there. You could do the same down here. This I might actually add right at the edge of the red. I'm going to add a little bit of blue for shadow. Let's see, we can add, I'm just taking some brown. I'm going to put some brown right here down at the bottom. Oops, really wasn't much water there. Right at the bottom of my, oops, that didn't work. Oh no. Okay. That at least adds a little bit of shadow and gives us some depth. All right. That's good. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of brown to the edge here. I just added a little bit of water to make it not so dark. That's not half bad. I mean, like I said, we could definitely get some more oomph in the background. You know, I mean, the problem is that watercolor dries a lot lighter. So you don't know what color it's going to be until it dries. Other than this popsicle stick here, I'd like to define a little bit more. I think because it was wet, we couldn't. Yeah. Other than that, I think this is pretty good.
Looks good.
Yep. I'm going to call it. So, Molly, did you finish yours yet, or are you still behind because of having to make that smoothie?
Tomorrow morning I'm going to watch the video and fix it.
Okay, perfect.
Finish it.
Well, as far as mine goes, so I like to do a little critique, and I like to say one thing that I think is effective and one thing that I think is not effective. Surprisingly, the blue turned out better than I thought. It does not look like the picture. Let's take a look at the picture.
Yeah, because the blue, it was lighter in the picture.
Right. So the blue is much lighter in this picture. And you can see it's a little bit more colorful in the background than in mine. So let's take a look at mine. Yeah. So it's certainly my colors in the foreground are a little bolder. My colors in the background are a little dimmer. So if I had to redo this, what I would do is I would maybe lighten up my colors in the foreground and then maybe do like even more of a mix of colors in the background to make it look really pretty. What I think is working really well is actually my highlights in the especially in the blue one. Like I think the highlights look really good, and it looks like it's rounded here at the bottom. Molly, do you have any feedback?
So I like all of them, but yeah, the background is a little dimmer, and other than that, it looks really great.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to seeing yours, and anybody else who has, if you've followed along, or even if you're watching my VOD, you are always welcome to join the Discord at any point in time and add your artwork, even if it's not right after this class. It's not a problem, and I would like to see it. So my next class is going to be crochet. I have not done my August schedule yet for drawing and painting, so that I still have to work on. If you want to see my schedule, either my Discord has a link to the schedule, or if you go to my About page here by clicking on my name and going to the About tab, there is a link for schedule. There's a button for schedule, and that will take you to my web page, which has a calendar. Like I said, I have not done the August calendar yet. I will be working on that this weekend. So look forward to a drawing next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it will be a surprise as to what it is. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a lovely evening.